Happy New Year, Sal Mubarak, Happy Bhai Dooj, and a very, very warm welcome to my talk show that's Tete at Suvees Power Meet in collaboration with Brand Hugh here. Oh, what a last few days it's been. Only having mithai, and sweets. That's what Diwali is all about. Eating yummy food. And of course, minus the crackers this time. So it's been a real peaceful Diwali. But it's nice to see all the diyas lit with lovely twinkling lights. That gives us all the josh to have and celebrate all our festivals the way we do, right? All right, time to start the talk show. This evening, I have an amazing, wonderful, interesting, inspiring, uh, and a dear friend on my talk show here with me. So let's welcome Lakshmi Potluri, CEO, DCF Ventures.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so great to have you. And what a day we are doing this, man, together.
I know. Thank you so much for having me on this show. It's really amazing. I'm very excited to be here and happy Bhai happy New Year to you, to everyone else.
That's great. That's fantastic. So, before we go ahead, I'd like to introduce Lakshmi Potluri to all of you all. She's the Chief Executive Officer at TCF Ventures. TCF Ventures is a destination which is responsible for entrepreneurs, connecting entrepreneurs with corporates, investors, and subject matter experts. TCF Ventures also is a gateway for corporates to access the Israeli innovation ecosystem through their partnership with SOSA, an Israeli startup enablement platform. Lakshmi comes with a 14 years of global experience where she's taken several leadership roles in finance, technology, e-commerce, digital media at IBM, that's US, Canada, Europe, Latin America, Goldman Sachs, Hong Kong, and then, of course, how can we forget Jabong.com India, Shopify India? During her stint as a co-founder of Jabong.com, she became active in the entrepreneurship world and has been an angel investor herself, having invested in companies in India and abroad. Some of her companies are in the consumer tech space, such as velvetcase.com, travelingspoon.com, Organics, that's organic women's hygiene products, driver's cart that was acquired by Drivu and others. Lakshmi has an MBA from Columbia Business School, New York. She has been a recipient of many awards, Women Entrepreneur of the Year Rotary, a panelist at many prestigious events such as NASCOM, FICCI, CII, Indochina, FICCI Conference, UK IBC Conference, TechSparts, IIMs, and a speaker at many MNCs. Apart from this, in her free time, I really wonder where she gets the free time from. She enjoys traveling, staying fit. Yes, staying fit is absolutely right. And has a special interest in assisting victims of acid attacks. That's very amazing, Lakshmi. She's originally from Chennai and is currently based out of Mumbai. A very warm welcome once again, Lakshmi Potluri, CEO TCF Ventures, to my talk show, Tete at Suvees Power Meet in collaboration with Brand Hugh here. So, Lakshmi,
Wow, thank you
if
again.
I have if I have your permission, maybe start a tete-a-tete.
Of course. Thank you for such a glorious introduction. I even forgot that I've done those things. You
Okay.
constantly reinvent yourself every day. So I'm like, okay, the past.
So, Lakshmi, this is what I wanted to, start off with. Business school in the US. Once you study out there, then of course, then you worked out there, and then you landed in India to work here. I mean, must have been like a huge difference because the work culture out here, whether it's a corporate or whether it's an MNC or whether it's anything, it's just very different. The way India works is very different. So, tell us about your experience.
You touched upon a very sensitive topic and an important one yet. So you're absolutely right. India and US work worlds apart. I had worked at multinationals.
Yeah,
So obviously they are far, far more organized. Everything is cast in stone. 2-year plans are already laid out today and so on. So
right.
that was one. Second, I'd never worked in India before, never, not in a corporate or otherwise. I mean, I'd dabbled, as a student, I did some entrepreneurial things, but, they were very
Yeah,
early on when I finished my undergrad.
right.
And then I had this a desire to come back to India and do something on my own. That's always been one of the driving forces, even when I lived in the US. And when you come to India, you're having a good time. You're just seeing things at the peripheral level, and India's obviously been changing ever since the liberalization started. So it was very exciting. Every holiday, everything was like, oh my God, I have to come back to India and do something. It's a land of opportunities. And also, there were so many things that being in the US, I thought that, we could bring many of these to India, Indian consumer, which is a space that I really love, consumer
Right.
focused businesses. And so that was exciting. And of course, I'd never been an entrepreneur, and that's a whole different journey altogether. So yes, I had learnings at multiple levels, not only as an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur in an industry that I didn't have experience. I was a banker at Goldman before I moved to India. And
Right.
I have never, I mean, I probably have developed better fashion sense over time, but I'm not really like a fashion, no one really thinks of me and fashion together, but I started a fashion lifestyle destination.
How sweet.
I love the idea of bringing variety, bringing great
Right.
customer experiences, bringing quality. Those things, of course, were the driving forces, and I'll come to that later. So I knew because I was very inspired by, at that time, Zappos, which was acquired by Amazon, was one of my biggest inspirations simply because of the way they excelled at customer service. And there are so many stories I can talk about how they were inspiring to me, but we'll probably have to set up another call for that. So I'm very inspired by how they had done things, and I wanted to bring all of that to India. And I had the perfect opportunity when Rocket Internet, which is a VC venture incubator from
Yeah.
Germany, had also had same ambitions, and they had success in building similar entities in Europe. And when our paths crossed, and we said, yeah, let's make this happen. And that's how Jabong was born, and that's what brought me back. Of course, Rocket Internet played a big role in kind of influencing my
Yes.
decision. They came with good know-how, so that helped somewhat with the soft landing. But the culture, the work culture, I think those were all, I think, personally steep learning curves for me.
Right.
This was in 2012. I was 31, 31, 32. I mean, I have to backtrack my years a little bit. But I was still, perceived to be a much younger person, to be a co-founder. An Indian startup ecosystem was not so evolved. So, and
Yes.
most of the people, we grew literally from an 8-member team. We weren't a traditional startup. We grew really fast. So we were 100 people in like 3 months.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, and so we had people, who had 15 years of retail experience, and I had like zero. And they would be like, who's this, kind of telling me how to run a retail business or an e-commerce business? He or she doesn't know about merchandising. He or she doesn't know about how to buy. And which I didn't, and which were not, obviously, I'm not going to belittle people who came with a lot of experience, but I felt that those were things I was able to pick up very quickly. But the perception still remains, like, of somebody
Right.
with 15 years of experience was not very quickly able to, take maybe direction,
Right.
and those kind of issues did interpersonal things did crop up. The second thing was, of course, in terms of I had never also been in any senior management role. I had been working in large organizations. At Goldman, I was a banker, one of the many bankers. Every banker, play a solo role as well as a team role. And so I have not really had like management experience in building and scaling So that was
Ah,
another learning. So how do you, really like set the vision? How do you think about scale? But that was
right.
very good. I think while I didn't have the experience, we had, my co-founders, Praveen and Arun, and the three of us, we had a very good team amongst us. So we were able to, teach each other and also learn from each other very well and very quickly. And of course, we had
Right.
a lot of learnings that came from Rocket Internet. So that was something that was another learning curve. But most of
Right.
all, what I found, which was a huge learning experience, was how to manage people, how to work with people, how to collaborate, how to, US is a very different kind of structure.
Yes. Yes.
The responsibility and accountability factors are supremely high. Um, and here it is a very different setup in different industries. And retail, I think, is a little different from maybe a finance or consulting industry, where perhaps the accountability, even in Indian scenario, is very similar and mimics a global ecosystem. So that was a huge thing. People, and I was in Delhi, and I, no offense again. So there was a learning curve there about how people in Delhi work.
I I totally agree with you.
I'm sure you need between the lines here to be politically correct, but there's, people don't show up even on time, to start with, as simple as that. And,
True.
Bombay
True.
is so different. I come from Chennai, where that's, people start work life there at 8:39, and that really means 8:39. So
Yeah.
daily start at 11, all small things like that to bigger things, obviously.
Yeah.
And so there was a cultural difference as well in terms of work ethics and working style, from a Bombay to a Delhi to a Chennai. And so those were my bigger learnings, actually. It wasn't the domain, it wasn't, building and scaling, but working with people. And that people didn't have accountability, and I was missing deadlines. And how it is when you miss deadlines. I hate it as much. So how I responded and reacted was actually a big learning for me. I would be like, why did you do it? Like, this is your responsibility. Like you said, you're going to and
Yeah.
people are not being questioned like that. So you have to actually work with them, make sure we are on track, and
Yeah.
make sure you understand why things are not on track. If they're not on track, and if you but they can't get on track, then how do you, find more people to help? So you have to do different things to get work done. So that
Right.
has
Right.
been my biggest learnings. And the second thing is relationship building. Like, again, in general, like if I have to draw like an IBM, like, there people come at 6:30 a.m., they finish by 3, and they're out. Like, you're talking in meetings, and then people are out. So
Right.
relationships are important, but I think it's still, was more restricted to work related to a large extent. And again, it's different in different industries. Like a Goldman was very different. Like, you build a lot
Right.
more on relationships. So, but here in
Right.
India too, you have to really spend a lot more time building your relationships, which
Right.
at the rate we were building and scaling, I didn't invest as much in building my relationships with people. I was very, very, like, more focused on business building. And I think that was my second learning, which I've realized. But they were, new things for me. And yeah, I think I learned a bit of some hard lessons, to be honest.
Yeah.
Some people
Yes.
were very appreciative when I, questioned things, or when I pulled up things. The last one, were also in terms of processing. Sometimes there isn't as much transparency, like, down the line, if you have these, purchases and all those, if they're not very strictly monitored, there was a lot of leakages. And those things, we had to put in more financial controls and checks and balances. And yeah, I think that was another learning. There was a lot of leakage, both at inventory level, from, the warehouses, in terms of, because we were scaling so fast. Like, we would order
Right.
a lot of stuff, like, 100
Right.
laptops, 50 laptops,
Wow.
just to give an example. And there was
Yeah.
so many things. And hiring, like, the hiring agencies, the talent scouting partners, there were things over there happening. So across, those leakages were things I wasn't anticipating. Nor do you think like that when you first
Right.
arrive. These are things you need
Right.
to be
Right.
aware of. Have a mentor. I didn't
Right.
realize, I think I didn't even have an idea that I needed a mentor. Later, I realized, having mentors. It was just the three founders that we used to work closely together. But I think having mentors who kind of helped me understand how things work in India would have been a huge support at that time.
Wow, this has been absolutely amazing learnings, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for sharing. This is really, really going to help a lot of young people who've joined us for a talk show, and I think it's wonderful, fantastic learnings because you see a whole lot of students going abroad for further studies, and they also work out there. Then they come back, they have certain expectations, and then they realize that oh no, this is reality. Yeah. and,
Yeah.
and that's quite a realization at that point in time because I totally agree with you when you talk about the north, up north, especially Delhi and all those places. You working with people's egos all the time, because in our line of work we do that 24/7. We are working, so at some point in time it really gets to you and you're like, oh my god, what the hell. Like, we are all here for working, we're all here professionals, and let's be professional about it. So,
I want to keep, saying that I worked to earn or whatever, like, paid my
yeah,
dues,
yeah.
did the right thing for the organization.
Correct, correct, correct. So, Lakshmi, coming to now that you're a part of GCF Ventures, and you're the CEO out there, and so tell us more about it. That it seems to be a very, very interesting organization, and it's amazing stuff that you all are doing, especially what you all are doing with SOSA and with Israel,
Yes.
and yeah. So, please tell us more about
I'm very excited. In fact, I take great pride to say we are India's only innovation as a service company, and very niche, certainly. But we are here to actually help corporates
it.
transform and be able to be a part of the change that's coming. Coincidentally, I'm also reading a book on how to see and perceive structural changes that are happening, and
Mm,
classic example with many audiences, the young may not
mm,
remember, the millennials, but the Nokia versus Apple. At one point of time, Nokia was ruling the Indian market, and today there's no sign of Nokia. It's
kind
Samsung
of
and
look at.
Apple,
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
Android phones.
yes.
So we come in where we are trying to we clearly and closely observe the changes that are happening in the ecosystem, especially with a closer focus on the early stage ecosystem, because we
Mm,
believe there's a lot of disruption, a lot of business models are getting questioned, changed, and we've seen that in India with the way the startups have completely displaced companies like Future Group, for example. With Flipkart had become a shopper stop. Like there's
yeah.
been changes, significant changes, and I use this as examples because everyone can relate to these kind of sectors.
Mm,
So we are able to bring in, these kind of structural changes and showcase what startups in specific sectors are doing to corporates, right? So the legacy companies, typically, and I'm not going to take names, but large groups,
mm,
they are always looking inside out. So we actually bring that outside perspective. So if it's a company that's making cars, like, and in India still, like the entire auto sector, especially
right.
during the pandemic, have seen the big difference. Digital or not being digital has made a difference to this sector. They all paid a price during the pandemic. But how
True.
can you actually start seeing what digital can do to the auto sector, or how a Tesla, when really has
Yeah.
completely shifted people's mindset about electric cars. This is again a very large example when I talk about Tesla, but it's happening, at different stages in different businesses. How data is coming and completely becoming in driver for decision making in digital first companies, whereas many of the legacy companies still haven't really, used a data driven approaches. So we work very closely with legacy companies or even young companies who want to be at the forefront of innovation, help them look at what's happening in the global ecosystem with startups, and
Right.
we help drive innovation programs. We help them with investments into startups, or strategically work with these kind of
Lovely.
early companies, which could be focused on their sector of interest. And we collaborate with organizations like SOSA, which again is present in the US, UK, Israel as well. Personally, I'm a big, we see what a lot of the innovation that's coming in different sectors, be it agri, be it water, be it defense, apart from the new
Mm,
age innovation that's happening in fintech or AI, ML. We see a lot of innovation coming out of Israel, and of course the Valley. So we, very excited to collaborate with entities like that to bring those changes to India and also work closely with Indian corporates. Simultaneously, we also work with governments to help them set up these kind of incubation centers. And what they want to do with
wow.
these incubation centers, is to bring many of these global companies, global startups also into India and help them, bring this technology to Indian organizations and entities. So we create something called landing pads, which enable global startups to come and, enter the Indian market. We facilitate that. We provide certain services for that. And in the process, we also run startup accelerators for these international ones as well as for Indian startups. These we
Right.
work very closely with government entities and institutions depending on the sector of focus. For example, in Thane, we have something called the Thane Global Impact Hub. And this is a very unique concept where we are curating specific sectors. So, for example, if you take healthcare, we bring in all of these stakeholders from healthcare to sit together. The concept of what we
Super.
call co-location, and this has
Hmm.
been practiced by a very large organization. In fact, Samsung, when it developed their televisions, they actually had like this 35, 38 bedroom large setup where they brought in all the experts, designers, marketeers, business folks to spend time together to develop a product that was now, manifested as a Samsung television, which has gotten a significant market share. So we kind of, build, this is a tried and tested concept. So we're trying to co-locate sector wise. So people can collaborate, innovate, and help each other to, make a difference in that particular sector. So a startup, a venture capitalist, a large diagnostic company, a pharma company, a biopharma company, all of them can work together, and they don't need to set up all of their entire operations and processes there. They can nominate a couple of people who are, thinking from a strategic perspective or from the innovation departments to be a part of this ecosystem and collaborate. And we're trying to, we have certain sectors like clean tech, focusing on, bringing in better quality of air, reducing pollution and all of that. So these are sectors that the government had given us. So we've created an ecosystem like that, and we work with other governments to do different things depending on the objectives as well. It's very exciting, and in the process, we facilitate investments for family offices, and we're very happy to say during the pandemic, we've been able to help one of our group companies acquire a couple of small startups which are very strategically aligned, and also invested in some fantastic companies which have turned out to be, one of which is a big blockbuster in the
Hmm.
COVID space for the group.
So that's fantastic, Lakshmi. I mean, even during the pandemic, you all could support and help these startups, uh, get where they want to get. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic because during the pandemic, we all saw that. The small industries, the small scale industries were the ones which were mostly affected and terribly affected.
Correct.
But when,
Correct.
having a support system like yours, which is absolutely brilliant work. So kudos to you. So what is I mean, even though the pandemic has struck us and it's there to stay. It's not going to go. We all have to accept that. So
Yeah.
what is the future you see, Lakshmi? What is it that you see, in the I'm talking about 2021, 2022. I'm not going further away because the pandemic has just happened. So it will take us at least a year more maybe to settle properly to it, and get things going to absolutely to normalcy. I mean, people keep on talking about new normal, new normal, new normal, but
Hmm.
what is your take on it? You tell us.
I wish I had
And
that
what
magic wand, but I would probably like invest in a few good stocks. But, no, so obviously, I think the word new normal has been overused. I think there were some stats on how it's been one of the most overused words now. But I feel like now people, to a large extent, have figured out a way to coexist across, the governments, barring, of course, it's not, again, a universal statement, but I think the governments, to a larger extent, have realized how to handle this situation, at least from a perspective of medical care, medical facilities. At
Mhm.
one point, people were scrambling, saying we won't be able to, service people who, I mean, if anyone
Right,
can. But now I think there's kind of an established balance there. People
right.
know how to identify, how to self quarantine, how to treat themselves with the help of doctor's advice. So, and I know personally, a lot of people have been have contracted and have recovered very well. So the recovery
Yes,
rate
yes,
has, I
yes.
would say, significantly improved. So to some
Right.
extent, obvious, there is that fear factor has been tempered. And that was one of the big things, that was like uncertain and unknown. There are still fears of a second wave, and certain countries like France have already gone into another lockdown. I sincerely hope that we don't go into a lockdown, but and I feel like we're unlikely to do like a major lockdown again. So that,
Okay.
I think, is kind of there is a lot of green shoots about vaccines coming up. Although everyone knows vaccines will take a long time, but we will start seeing some, first round of vaccines which will come again. It's going to give a lot more people comfort, and the
Right.
fear is going to further get
True. True.
corrected. So that helps on one side. The U.S.
Hmm.
elections, which was another big uncertainty, that has also obviously now gone out of the way, and there's a lot of
Right.
clarity there. So I feel like these two factors have really, like, helped people now deal with the situation. We are able to see right from the Diwali sentiment, the way the markets have been responding to the changes. All sectors, especially on the consumer front, or whether it's auto sector, whether it is the retail sector, Amazon and Flipkart's big
Right.
billion sales have had significant, significantly good sales, and same in the auto sector. We're seeing some positive sentiment. I think real recovery is definitely going to be more post financial year. Most of this year is pretty much gone. We're going to start seeing some uptick. And just like we're seeing revenge travel, I feel like there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm in business, and people are
Yes.
going to come with a far more. I mean, all of us have been working from home to a large extent. Travel has been limited. Most of them are well rested, been working out and staying fit, and you're changing all the lifestyles a little bit. So I feel like everyone's going to come back with a lot more positivity, a lot more excitement to do things, to change, and to also try to make up for, as much as possible for time that's been lost. And so decisions must be faster, is my sense. I feel we're seeing hiring also reflect the same thing. People are hiring and investing, with future growth plans. So all
Right.
of these, are very positive. I'm pretty confident. It might be a little longer, but maybe March might move plus or minus, or March might be ahead. Hopefully that'll
Right.
be. But post March, we'll start seeing a lot more. I think things picking up from an economy perspective, sentiment perspective.
Right.
It's already started. People are. This has been a much more a positive. Diwali itself, the Diwali cheer, I think, is going to
Yeah.
spread and remain. I hope we still must be cautious. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of dropping a little bit. We're seeing Delhi. I think they
Yeah.
had
The cases.
they were the initial ones who kind of opened up many things much earlier than Bombay, for example. We are
Right.
in Bombay,
Right.
but they have actually seen a lot of cases spiking. So we should continue. I hope post Diwali, we kind of come back and scale down a little bit of going
Yeah.
out, being more cautious. In fact, last 2 weeks, a lot of people, if you see the streets, traffic has been high. People have been socializing a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortably than they would have done in the past. So I think we should be cautious at least for 2-3 weeks to let things settle
True.
down.
True.
And
True.
I
True.
think as long as we take the necessary precautions, stay fit, I hope we all can, come back faster.
Yes, as I always say, Lakshmi, everybody needs to be cautious. Stay safe and be cautious
Correct.
and be positive. I think three things they
Yeah.
need to do for themselves. And as you just spoke about the American elections, I think with that great man out there, you never know what is going to happen.
But
You
I think
just don't
slowly
know.
we're seeing some signs of conceding to this new situation.
You just don't know what is going to happen. So we
You
shall
never
wait
know.
and watch.
Uh,
We shall wait and watch. And it's, I can't believe it. We've almost, it's like it's just time flown. It's
nothing
brutal.
like
This
that.
was
This is
great.
one of the finances talk shows. I didn't even realize time just flew. Or I think I
Yeah.
spoke too much. I don't know, one of the two.
No, please, not at all. I think this was fantastic. Great learnings. Great. I mean, the fact that you shared your experiences, I think that is so important, Lakshmi, because as I said, a lot of young entrepreneurs are watching you, and it will be a fantastic learning for them, and for them to know that what's to experience and what
And
uh,
not
you know.
only since my first experiences, even the ecosystem has been more
Yeah.
evolved. So I'm
Yeah,
sure their experiences may not necessarily mimic mine, but and I hope I've been able to leave some new learnings which they for them.
definitely, definitely, definitely. So, as I always say, before we end my talk show, stay safe and be positive. So do that. But before I go, I want to say, Lakshmi, your Lakshmi is available. Are you available on all social media handles, Lakshmi?
I'm mostly responsive on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay.
Apart from
Okay.
that, I'm a little not so. I mean, I'm not so active on Facebook and Twitter yet.
And Instagram, are you
Insta
available on?
for any business, I'm just there. I'm not active on that at all. In
Okay.
fact,
Okay. Okay. So on LinkedIn, you're by your name, Lakshmi Potluri,
yes,
right?
on LinkedIn I am. I'm
Okay,
active
great.
on LinkedIn generally.
So, all you wonderful viewers out there, you need to get connected to Lakshmi. She is available on LinkedIn. Do get in touch with her, and she would definitely connect back with you. So, before I go, as I always say, all you wonderful people out there, if you have anything worrying you, bothering you, troubling you, please don't keep it within you, bottled up within you. It's not worth it. See to it that you talk and communicate to a friend that you trust, or a family member that you trust, or an inner circle, so that that's how it's going to help you. And you never know, the problem that you're facing, somebody else may be facing the same problem, and it would be helpful to somebody else also. So do that to yourself. And this wonderful period of Diwali that we've had, a New Year that we have, the celebrations that we've all had a good time. But do not forget, as I always say, as soon as this month of November started, I said, this is the month of my birthday month. It's my
Mine too.
birthday month. So do not November. I'm going to go I'm going to go live because 25th November is my birthday, and I'm going to go live on that day. And that day we are going to do a fundraiser to raise funds for underprivileged children who are born with cleft lip palate, and we do free of cost surgeries for them. And this is the first time yours truly will be debuting as a singer. So watch out for that, 25th November, right, folks? 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Details will be followed. I've already posted on Facebook and Insta. Do check it out. Well, uh, please go to my YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe. And yes, comment, because your feedback is indeed very valuable. And on that note, we shall be signing off for today, and we shall see you soon again. Thank you very much once again. Sal Mubarak. Happy Bhai Dooj to all of you all, and stay safe and be positive. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was
Thank
great
you so
having you
much.
here.
Thank you to everyone who is on the audience. Happy
Yes,
Diwali
they're
again.
both. Yes. Bye bye. God bless.